The content you are about to ingest is for mature audiences only. Human written, voiced by AI. Welcome to Bella Vita, Tales of Sidori Island Part 1. Trigger warnings such as cheating, dubious consent, BDSM, secret society, abduction, female revenge, mild torture, and many other kinks and fetishes may occur throughout the story. If you aren't into weird shit, you reserve the option to press stop at any time. If you like weird shit and wish to continue, sit back, do nothing, and enjoy. Episode 6, Cumfessions.
The end of the island's rainy season is rapidly approaching as temperatures cool for the changing of the seasons. Alana is sitting up in bed finishing the last chapter of Unethical Ethics. This is the first time she has finished a book in 4 days, because she needed to get an understanding of what exactly happened at dinner a few days ago. As she reads, her focus goes in and out as she thinks about that night. She goes back in time and relives the experience. In the moment, she felt like she was cheating because she thought another man was making her come. But then she didn't think she was cheating because she thought it was her husband. And then the truth was revealed. The biggest mindfuck that threw her for a loop was learning it was her professor's wife. Alana has never been with a woman. She thinks women are attractive but has never had a thought of being intimate with one. Thinking about when Christina hands her the remote, she sets the book down on the nightstand beside her located on the right side of the bed. She readjusts the pillows to support her back. She slides her right hand down her silky pink shorts. Her fingers split apart her lips, grazing over her clit, gathering the juice that was building up from her thoughts about her experience with Christina. The tip of her finger makes its way through the slimy fluid and presses against her clit. She lets out a soft moan as Jason walks into the bedroom. She quickly removes her hand and pretends to adjust her hair scarf.
Jason closes the door and starts to undress. He attempts to throw his shirt across the room into the laundry basket. He misses as it lands in front of the basket. While removing his pants, he tells Alana that Alyssa was asleep by time he got to the 3rd page of the book, Sleep is for Losers by Dr. William Strickland. Alana shakes her head and asks if that book was appropriate for children. Jason replies saying he knew it would get the job done because every time he tries to read it, he falls asleep. Leaving his pants at the door and only wearing black boxer briefs, he walks over to his side of the bed and peels back the covers. Before he gets in, Alana sees the look of an epiphany on his face as he asks her if falling asleep from a book named Sleeping is for Losers makes him a loser. She looks at his slim figure while he adjusts his dick to the right side of his underwear and gets into bed. He grabs the TV remote from the nightstand on his side of the bed and asks Alana if she wants to watch Coffee, Cocaine, and Morning Wood, The Downfall of the Chris and Julie Morning Show, a Felix Network exclusive documentary. Alana scoots down in her bed from her position of sitting up, says no, and rolls over with her back to Jason.
Jason commands Arlo, the digital assistant, to dim the lights and turn on Coffee, Cocaine, and Morning Wood. Just as Alana closes her eyes to continue her daydream about her dinner experience, she notices her phone lighting up. She had turned it on silent earlier to avoid interruption while she was reading. She grabs her phone and realizes she has a message from an out-of-town number she doesn't recognize. She opens the message and it's a picmoji of a bee. She whispers to herself, "What the fuck?" and instantly another picmoji follows. This time it's a remote immediately followed by a spilled drink, splash, and ends with a smiley face with hard eyes. Alana smiles and replies, "Christina," with a question mark. A smiley face is sent back as the reply. Alana mildly shrieks with excitement. Jason overhears and asks if everything was okay. Alana says yes. She just saw something on the phone that made her excited. Jason inquires as to what. Alana says she can't tell because someone has a birthday approaching. Jason says okay and continues to watch the documentary. Another message confirming Christina's identity is sent to Alana's phone. This time it is a picture of her holding a glass of red wine smiling. And the text said, "Thinking of you." Alana stares at the picture of Christina smiling. She thinks to herself, how beautiful she looks with her messy bun and no makeup. Alana replies and asks Christina what filter she used on her eyes to make her green stand out. Christina replies, "None, but you might have missed out on how green they are because you might have been preoccupied." Alana responds with a picmoji of a middle finger and says, "Haha." Christina responds with laugh out loud and states she has a confession. She admits to Alana she spilled the water on her on purpose. Alana starts to type and stops when she sees Christina is still typing. In the next message, she asks if Alana still has the vibrator. Alana responds with a blushing picmoji and says yes. Christina gives Alana a set of instructions. Step 1. Scan the barcode on the vibrator. Step 2. Download the app. Step 3. Turn on the device. Step 4. Allow the app and device to pair and connect. Alana turns and looks back at Jason and sees his eyes are closed. She turns back around and opens the nightstand drawer to retrieve the vibrator. She uses her phone and scans the code to download the app. She turns on the vibrator and places it back in the open drawer. And after about a minute, the app finishes downloading. She goes through all of the prompts asking to connect the device. Arlo blurts through the speaker on the nightstand next to Jason, notifying of a new device connected. Alana quickly and nervously turns around to see if Arlo woke up Jason. He lets out a light snore. She sighs as she turns back to text Christina, informing her she's connected, when she is suddenly startled by her vibrator going off in her nightstand drawer. Her phone drops to the floor as she hurries and tries to silence the vibrator. Her hand reaches in the drawer and the vibrator stops. Jason mumbles and asks who is calling this late as he rolls over facing the opposite direction of his wife. She looks down at her phone face up on the hardwood floor, and she can see it lighting up with notifications. She unlocks it and sees Christina asking did it work, followed by 3 lines of question marks. Alana apologizes, saying she dropped her phone, and asks for clarity if she was the one who made her vibrator go off. Christina confirms and says she has another confession. She asks Alana why she didn't follow instructions and set the vibrator to 1. Alana sends back 2 question marks. Christina notes that the instructions told her to set to 1, and she reminds Alana she set it to level 5, the most intense level. Alana replies with a slapping forehead picmoji. After about 10 seconds of feeling stupid, it dawns on Alana as she urgently types asking Christina how she knew what level the vibrator was on because there isn't an indicator on the remote. Christina tells Alana to open the app and look at the connected devices. Alana opens the Funtime app and sees information alerting there are 2 vibrators connected located at the top of the screen. In the middle of the screen there are 2 buttons side by side, labeled Funtime 1 and Funtime 2. Beneath the Funtime buttons is 2 other buttons. One is labeled Sync and the other labeled Level. Next to it is the number 5. Feeling confused, Alana types back she's confused. Christina tells her to press the Sync button to delink the devices and press the Fun button number 2 multiple times, and she will tell Alana how many times she presses it. Alana presses the button 4 times, and on the 5th time she holds the button for 2 seconds. Alana receives a message saying 4 times and 1 long press. Alana replies her assumptions of Christina having the other vibrator. Christina replies there's more. Alana sees Christina is typing and is curiously waiting for her continued response to her last statement. 2 minutes pass as she impatiently waits. Christina confesses she and Dr. Strictland like to play a game called If and Then. He explains more in his book about the correlation between motivation and decisions. If someone wants something bad enough, then what are they willing to do to get it? Christina reminds Alana of wanting to pass the class and earn her degree, which led to her opening the box. Christina explains she wanted something too and had to open a box of her own. Alana reads as Christina admits to wearing a vibrator which was synced to hers. Alana is speechless as she stares at the screen, reading the last sentence over and over, making sure she understands. Christina adds to her last statement stating she felt everything Alana felt. Alana doesn't immediately respond. She is in deep thought, trying to understand how a married woman gets put into a situation like that, and also with a stranger. Alana looks over at a sleeping Jason and thinks how fucked up a relationship has to be where a man is that controlling to see his wife get off on making other women come. After about 3 minutes of processing everything, Alana finally responds to Christina asking her if she came also. Christina begins typing and says the moment Alana touched and squeezed her hand. Alana has mixed emotions. On one hand, she had one of the most intense orgasms she has ever felt in her life. On the other hand, she feels like she cheated on Jason. He has been nothing but a great husband to her and a great father to their child. Lastly, she feels sorry for Christina because she might be being controlled by a sociopathic professor. Alana asks Christina what it was she wanted so badly that she had to do what she did. Christina explains that her best friend for 25 years is having a retirement party. Dr. Strictland doesn't want her to go to the party because rumors surrounding her. He doesn't want to be associated with her or her colleagues. Alana types back ? All over a party? ? Christina responds yes and asks Alana if she would like to be her +1. Christina types to Alana. Dr. Strictland definitely isn't going, and she admits to not wanting to be alone because her friend will be too busy entertaining her guests. Alana replies, she will make sure it is okay with Jason and hopes he doesn't make her open any boxes so she can go to a party. Christina sends a smiley face emoji and tells Alana if she no longer wants the vibrator she can bring it, and she'll get rid of it. Alana sends a smiley face back and says goodnight.
Chantell is sitting at her desk thinking how crappy the weather is. The dreary clouds are a preview for the upcoming thunderstorms. Her thoughts about the weather is only a temporary distraction of everything that is on her mind. She thought seeing PJ at work the next day would be awkward, but the fact she hasn't seen him at all is sending her mind into a whirlwind of different theories and concepts. One theory of hers is PJ found out that she was the one who assisted him at the facility and became embarrassed. Or if he knew it was her and thought she did a bad job and didn't want to hurt her feelings. Or maybe he is sick because it is the time of year. It didn't make sense to her how someone who needs money would miss work. She grabs her Employee of the Month mug given to her by the company and makes way to the break room to get coffee. Chantell enters the break room and is not surprised to see Stephen Wilcox, who she calls the break room supervisor. She asks Stephen if everything in the break room was doing their job. He responds saying the table might need to be up for a performance review. He adds the coffee pot, and everything associated with it needs to be terminated immediately. She tells Stephen to be quiet and nudges him out of the way as he stands in front of the coffee pot drinking a bottle of water. She pours a cup of coffee and asks Stephen if he has seen or heard from PJ. He responds no, and asks her if she had received his RTP receipt. She glances up at Stephen and says she did, and adds out of all of the receipts she received yesterday, and today he was the only one with enough courage to ask if she received them. Stephen adds that he worked hard for that money, and he wants to make sure he sees the results of his hard work inside of his paycheck. Chantell shakes her head and compares his hard work to the amount of work he is doing now. She walks towards the door of the break room and assures Stephen he will receive his money. Chantell needed a caffeine boost due to her lack of sleep. Last night, she couldn't stop thinking about her RTP experience. An oat and lavender bubble bath normally relaxes her, but she couldn't shake the images of PJ's penis in her hands. In that moment, she sinks down in the tub and thinks Sunday service can't come fast enough, until that thought got interrupted by the thought of PJ coming. Her thoughts lead her to reminisce about the embarrassment she endured from her coworkers seeing his stains on her dress. Chantell sits back down at her desk and realizes she forgot to check her private email. Instead of her using her personal email, which links back to her identity, she used her private anonymous email when she signed up for the RTP program. She heard the email notification when she was leaving the office the day prior, and it slipped her mind when she was caught off guard by learning PJ was the man behind the headset. Chantell unlocks her phone and searches her email. She scrolls past 3 emails notifying her she has unread messages from her Gotcha dating app profile. She mumbles under her breath about the thirst level of men because she hasn't been active on Gotcha in 3 years. Why are men so thirsty? She sees an email from the RTP program and she opens it. Ms. Chantell Green, we have the results of your compatibility test. You and the participant you assisted have a 91% compatibility rating. We are offering you and your assisting partner a compatibility bonus. You both have the opportunity to come in twice a week for an additional $100. They have also been notified. If you choose to accept, click the link provided. By enrolling in this program, you agree to provide a weekly specimen for the next 30 days. If you or your assisting partner fails to meet your twice-a-week requirements, your ability to participate in the program will be suspended for 30 days. If your partner declines the compatibility bonus, you may continue the program once a week as usual. If your partner accepts, you both will be notified for scheduling. Chantell sets her phone down on her desk, takes off her tan cardigan, and lets it fall behind her in her chair while fanning herself with her hand. Chantell's coworker Linda Flanagan sees Chantell fanning herself and yells at her across the room, accusing her of being too young to experience menopause.
You're too young for menopause.
Chantell signals for Linda to come into her office. Linda gets up and walks into Chantell's office, and Chantell asks her to close the door. Chantell asks Linda if she can confide in her about some personal information. Before Linda can say yes, Chantell blurts out, "There is a guy." Linda sits down in the chair in front of Chantell's desk. Linda removes her glasses and lets them dangle around her neck by the eyeglasses strap. She says to Chantell, "Honey, isn't there always?"
Isn't there always?
Chantell says yes, but this one is off limits in so many ways. Linda asks if he's married or in a relationship. Chantell says no. Linda asks then how is he off limits, and follows up with asking Chantell if she was wearing the man's love juice on her the day before. Chantell places her elbows on her desk and cowardly puts her face into her hands, asking what is she supposed to do.
Linda proceeds to tell Chantell about a man she was seeing last year. He was 32 years old and she is twice his age. Chantell interrupts and asks how a 32-year-old grown man was off limits. Linda asks Chantell if she can go into graphic detail. Chantell looks up and replies yes, and Linda continues her story. She said she met a man named Cliff on Gotcha, the dating app. They had a few dates and he invited her to a barbecue at his house. Linda goes into elaborate detail of how she cut her hair into a short pixie, got her nails done, and wore a cute orange floral sundress because she wanted to impress Cliff's family. She explains how everything was going great at the cookout until she had to use the bathroom. Chantell sits back in her chair, looking at Linda with intense curiosity, waiting on her to continue her story. Linda said Cliff instructed her to use the bathroom in his bedroom. Linda describes how the bathroom door was halfway open, so she didn't think it was occupied. When she pushed the door all the way open, his son was standing there with his Peter in his hand, shaking it because he just got finished using the bathroom. Chantell's eyes get big as she asks Linda what she did. She continues her story, explaining how Cliff's son tried to put his cock away and how she wouldn't let him. Linda alludes to one thing leading to another, and Junior might have accidentally ended up in her mouth. Chantell interrupts and calls Miss Linda by her government name, Linda Nadine Flanagan. Linda cuts back in and confesses she used to go back and forth from the dad's room to the son's room. She adds this wasn't her first time having two family members.
Before Linda could finish going into detail, Chantell cuts her off and tells Linda she can stop because she can read between the lines. Linda asks Chantell if she wants to hear about the time Junior came up here during lunch. Chantell reiterates she is fine. Linda mumbles audibly, saying they put on a show for the parking lot camera.
We put on a show.
Chantell thanks Linda for her insight. Linda says she's glad she could help. She gets up, turns around, and walks to the door. She grabs the doorknob to open the door, looks back at Chantell sitting at her desk staring off into space. She tells Chantell whatever she decides to do regarding the guy who's off limits, it's a good thing she has on a white blouse because it's harder to see the love stains.
It's harder to see the love stains.
Chantell folds her arms on her desk and puts her head down on the desk. Linda exits Chantell's office and closes the door.
This episode of Bella Vita Tales of Sidori Island Part 1 is sponsored by...
Here's the plot. A serial killer's last victim survives and is rescued and treated by the best first responder team in the city. The victim is treated at the hospital by a world-renowned doctor who learns the victim has a rare disease. While the police force and FBI are searching for the serial killer, the hospital staff and doctor race to find a cure for the rare disease of the lone survivor of a serial killer. Suddenly, a terrorist plot on the hospital is uncovered and a special ops unit has to intervene before the hospital is destroyed, and the doctor never finds a cure for the lone survivor of the serial killer who the cops need as a witness to help find out who it is. That's their network series plots, not ours. You can clearly tell, over here we ain't them and they ain't us. Bella Vita Tales of Sidori Island Part 1 isn't just a story, it's an experience. And for those who want to take the potion and go deeper, to uncover the secrets behind the scenes, there's only one place to do it: Patreon. When you subscribe, you get ad-free early access to episodes, exclusive character details, and behind-the-scenes content that takes you inside the mind of the creator. Think of it as your all-access pass to the world of Bella Vita. Visit patreon.com/The Felix Network and join us. Because over here, we are something different.
Our next guest, Dr. Ivan Malone, explains to women on what to do if they're ever stuck in a dryer while they're home alone with their stepsons. Blares from the TV in the background as Stacy flips through the channels. She stops at It's Lucy Swan in the afternoon talk show. She mumbles to herself how she's been hearing a lot about similar incidents happening recently as she changes to another channel. Stacy exits the live TV portion on the Felix network and searches the premium content. Her email notification goes off. She sets down the remote and opens her email. Ms. Stacy Meadows, we have the results of your compatibility test. You and the participant you assisted have a 97% compatibility rating. We are offering you and your assisting partner a compatibility bonus. You both have the opportunity to come in twice a week for an additional $100. They have also been notified. If you choose to accept, click the link provided. By enrolling in this program, you agree to provide a weekly specimen for the next 30 days. If you or your assisting partner fails to meet your twice-a-week requirements, your ability to participate in the program will be suspended for 30 days. If your partner declines the compatibility bonus, you may continue the program once a week as usual. If your partner accepts, you both will be notified for scheduling. Without hesitation, she taps accept when suddenly the doorbell rings. She sarcastically yells out loud, "Don't worry about coming out of the room, she'll get the door." She gets up off of the couch and adjusts her shorts by pulling down inside the crotch area and pulling down the back. She gets to the door, has one hand on the lock, peeps through the peek hole, unlocks the door, and opens it.
Chantell says hello and Stacy responds with hello, and what a pleasant surprise. Hello, Chantell asks if PJ is available. Stacy backs up and invites Chantell in. Stacy says long time no see as she closes the door behind Chantell. Chantell informs Stacy PJ didn't show up for work. She tried texting, and when she called his phone was off. Stacy confirms PJ has been in his room since he came home from work the day before. Stacy tells Chantell she's tried seeing what's wrong. She says she went into his room, and he yelled at her to get out. She adds that he was fine for about 5 minutes when he came home. He asked for a favor. She did it for him, and soon after he ran to the bathroom and started throwing up. Chantell agrees he was fine when she left the office yesterday. Chantell tells Stacy she is going to try and talk to him. Stacy walks back to the couch, and Chantell goes down the hall and knocks on PJ's door. Chantell hears no response. She knocks again and waits for a response. Nothing. She twists the door handle and it's locked. Chantell goes inside of her handbag pulling out a key. She unlocks the door. PJ yells, "Get the fuck out."
Get the fuck out.
Chantell replies, "Boy." PJ is lying under the covers facing the window opposite of the door. Chantell can see the top of his head peeking out of the covers. She closes the door and walks over to the bed and sits on the side he was facing. A trash can is on the side of the bed in front of him. Chantell can smell the remnants of vomit, but her concern for PJ outweighs her nostrils' discomfort. PJ asks Chantell how she got in. Chantell admits she has always had a key to his room from when she used to babysit, and he would lock the door. He follows up with asking why she is there. She confesses she was worried about him, and she had something important she needed to discuss with him. She adds Stacy is worried too. Unexpected to Chantell, PJ bursts into tears and catches Chantell off guard. She rubs PJ's back over the covers. Stacy is alerted by the sound of PJ crying, so she turns down the TV to investigate more into what's going on. PJ attempts to tell Chantell what's going on. Through his sniffles, Chantell can make out a few words and phrases. Kicked out, sniffle, sniffle. Money, sniffle. RTP, snort. It's all Stacy's fault, sniffle. Stacy hears her name followed by the word fault, so she slowly walks to PJ's room to eavesdrop more on his and Chantell's conversation. Stacy is right outside of PJ's door and she hears, the best he's ever felt.
The best I've ever felt.
He accepted yes to going twice a week, and he just received notification not that long ago that she said yes also. Stacy presses her ear closer to make out more words. He emphatically expresses how he was thinking about his life-changing experience at the RTP facility as he takes his head all the way from under the cover. With his speech sounding clearer, PJ excitingly states how he was ready to get back in the car and go back for round two. He says he went into Stacy's room, grabbed the money, and PJ stops mid-sentence. Chantell's heart is fluttering along with her growing ego as he expresses how she made him feel. Stacy is confused as to why any of his RTP facility stuff has to do with her.
PJ sits up resting on his right elbow and tells Chantell he has a confession. Chantell admits to having one too. Stacy is listening and thinking to herself, what the fuck? Chantell's hand is still rubbing PJ's back, but this time it's over his 2-day-old dingy white tank top. Chantell ignores PJ's current lack of hygiene as she anticipates his confession. PJ asks Chantell to promise not to tell anyone or judge. Don't judge. Chantell sticks out her left pinky. PJ reaches out his and they lock pinkies. He restates he went into Stacy's room to grab the money she promised and notices a receipt. He says he was walking out of the room when his brain told him to turn around because the receipt looked familiar. PJ says he turned around and saw it was an RTP receipt with the same date and room number as his. Before Chantell can lower her eyebrow in confusion, the door abruptly opens and Stacy bursts through the door. In a furious tone, she calls PJ a perverted fuck, and in one swift motion, she takes off her right fuzzy sloth slipper and begins to attack PJ. He winces and raises his left arm trying to block her attacks. Chantell manages to absorb some of the hit's impact as she uses her arm to block Stacy. Stacy starts bawling uncontrollably and slides her belly down the side of the bed opposite of Chantell. Stacy is on her knees resting her upper body on the bed facing PJ. The only word PJ and Chantell can make out is the word why. Chantell, intensifying her confused look, stares at PJ and asks what's going on. PJ clarifies what he was trying to say. Chantell asks again, what is that? Stacy interjects between her snot-heavy sniffles and says PJ made her fall in love with his beauty mark. Chantell cocks her knee onto the bed, spreading her legs slightly as she turns to look at Stacy with the same intense look of confusion. She caresses Stacy's shoulder and arm in an attempt to comfort her. PJ sits all the way up in the bed so he can see his sister Stacy. While turning his head to face Stacy, he catches a glimpse of Chantell's smooth inner thighs by way of her suede olive skirt rising when she moved her leg. PJ takes a deep breath and says to Chantell, the day prior before she saw him after his lunch break, he went to an RTP facility to make some extra money to move out. He mentions he did the hands-on procedure and they sent him an email saying he was compatible with his hands-on partner. PJ lowers his head in shame and picks up his story where he left off, saying he tapped accept to the email instantly because at the time it was the best experience he has ever felt. Chantell is trying not to show how hard she is smiling inside.
Stacy's head is buried in her arms on top of PJ's bed as she listens to his story. Stacy sniffles and says she tapped accept too, followed by she knew the chemistry of 97% was too good to be true. Chantell tells the brother and sister to excuse her language, but what the hell? Chantell's feeling of joy was completely interrupted again by more confusion and a slight disgust. Chantell removes her hand from Stacy's shoulder. Stacy looks up at Chantell in embarrassment. PJ's head is still looking down, avoiding eye contact with Chantell. Chantell's tone turns into mild anger as she shakes PJ's leg, asking for more clarification. PJ mumbles inaudibly, saying he found out Stacy was his RTP partner.
Stacy is my RTP.
Chantell tells him to speak up, and he repeats himself with more clarity. Chantell's heart sank deep into the pit of her stomach. She gently pushes PJ's leg and stands up. She stands with her back to Stacy and PJ. They stare at her as she places her hands over her face. They can't tell if she's crying or getting ready to lose her shit. A few tears fall from PJ's face as he tries to explain to Chantell how horrible he feels.
I feel horrible.
Chantell raises her right hand as if to silence him.
Chantell's head pops up. PJ and Stacy's hearts are pounding with suspense. Stacy pleads for Chantell not to tell anyone.
Please don't tell anyone.
Chantell turns around and questions Stacy's 97% compatibility, and before she could answer she asks PJ how many times he went to the facility. PJ attempts to say once, but is cut off by Chantell asking Stacy about a beauty mark. Stacy confirms she saw a beauty mark in the center of the shaft. PJ lifts his covers, lifts up his money-printed pajama pants, and looks for a beauty mark. Neither Stacy nor Chantell was paying him any mind. Chantell's heart begins to rise out of the deep pit inside her stomach as she reflects back to her RTP experience. Chantell corrects Stacy, informing her PJ doesn't have a mole. PJ snaps the waistband of his pajama pants back to his waist, confirming what Chantell said. Stacy looks up and over at PJ as PJ looks over at Chantell. Both have a confused look on their faces. Chantell reaches in her right cardigan pocket and sits back down onto the bed with her legs cocked back in its previous position so she is able to see both people. PJ is trying to focus on what Chantell could have in her pocket that drastically changed her mood. He is mentally distracted on how Chantell knows he doesn't have a beauty mark on his dick. He was potty trained by the time she was babysitting him. He is physically distracted because he can now see the curvature of Chantell's pussy lips in her white panties. A plethora of thoughts ran through PJ's mind in those brief seconds it took Chantell to pull out a piece of paper. She hands the paper to PJ. He sees it's an RTP receipt. He holds it by the corner in his left hand. His eyes lower as he studies the paper up and down. Chantell takes her phone out of her left sweater pocket and goes directly into her emails. She opens the compatibility email and she sees a 91% rating. She hands her phone to Stacy and says, "See, 91%. Stacy looks completely confused as to what is going on. Stacy questions Chantell as she hands her back her phone if she's okay with having a contaminated phone that was touched by a girl who had her own brother's dick in her hand. Chantell calls Stacy honey as she tells her she might want to wash her hands because it's the other way around. Stacy looks confused as to what Chantell meant. Before PJ or Stacy can get a word out, Chantell asks PJ did he check the time on his sister's receipt. PJ looks back down at the receipt.
The room is silent as all the attention is on PJ. He stares at the 1:07 p.m. printed on the receipt. He then reconfirms the room and service information matching his room. He switches hands, removing his left thumb covering the corner of the receipt, and sees the name C. Green. PJ says, "Oh shit." Stacy reaches up and snatches the paper from PJ. She reads the piece of paper, drops it on the floor, picks up her sloth slipper and lunges up from the floor, hitting PJ, calling him a fucking asshole. Chantell places her arm in the middle, blocking most of Stacy's attack. Stacy calls PJ an idiot for misinformation. PJ can see Chantell's nipples poking through her blouse as she protects him from his sister's wrath. He redirects his focus and questions Stacy on why she was at an RTP facility falling in love with Dick. Stacy replies that she did it for him to help him move out. Chantell inserts herself in the dispute, telling PJ not to bash his sister for falling in love with male genitalia. She tells PJ that's the reason she was there. It is to confess that she found out she was the one who helped him at the facility because she saw the receipt he left at the office. She adds that she left feeling away, and when she realized they were compatible, her body made her tap confirm. Just as PJ's body is responding to everything Chantell is saying.
Stacy, who is standing on the side of the bed looking down at PJ in disgust, mentions how this situation is getting extremely awkward, how she fucking hates PJ for making her think some weird shit, throws her slipper at PJ, hitting him in the head, and she walks out of the room. PJ asks Chantell what they do now. Chantell tells PJ to first take a shower, and she will see him at work tomorrow. Chantell stands up and pulls down her skirt. She tells him she is going to get out of there. She faces PJ and leans in to give him a hug. She clinches PJ tight. The hug lasts for close to 7 seconds. As she loosens her grip, Chantell whispers into PJ's ear she'll see him at the facility and kisses him on the cheek. She places her left hand on PJ's right shoulder for stability. She lifts up his blanket, stares at PJ's crotch, and sees he's fully erect. She drops the blanket and walks to the room's exit. She stops at the door and turns to PJ, telling him to not let any of that go to waste, urging him to save it for the facility.
The sounds of the thunder are more distant than they were the hour before. Fire crackles, raindrops lightly tapping the rooftop, and the occasional beep coming from the smoke detector fill the airwaves of the apartment. Dom makes her way down the hallway towards Cheyenne. The sound of her boots tapping the floor adds to nature's melodic symphony. Cheyenne holds up the tablet with the screen facing Dom, asking, "What is this?" Dom is about 5 feet away when she sees a video playing. The scene appears to be shot in POV format as she notices the camera moving closer to a door. The door opens and Dom can see a man is lying in a bathtub. Dom is within arm reach of the tablet when the camera pans over the tub and she sees Mr. Davidson hogtied naked. Dom's eyes get big as she snatches the tablet from Cheyenne. Dom already knew where the video was about to go because she witnessed Mr. Harold Toilet Bowl Davidson in action. Dom closes the video as Cheyenne asks what the fuck is going on, adding she has 1,000 questions. Dom steps over the box and sits back on her side of the couch, says well, and before she gets to the next word, she's interrupted by Cheyenne's phone ringing. Cheyenne looks at her phone and tells Dom to hold on, it's her dad.
It's my dad.
Dom's DPN device notification goes off. She has a message from JoJo asking her why she hung up, laugh out loud. Another message comes through. JoJo admits she didn't know how the whole Client 5 Mr. Davidson thing was going to work out, but she expected Dom's reaction. She goes on further to explain how Mr. Davidson's reaction caught her off guard. While Dom is reading interpreting the text, a picture message comes through. Cheyenne gets up and walks to the kitchen. Its entrance is next to the fireplace across from the couch. Dom looks up as she walks away. Dom looks back down at her phone, puts it on vibrate, looks at the message. It's a picture of a dick with a little bit of cum oozing out of the tip. Dom notices a slip knot tied around the base of the shaft extending beneath the balls. The caption on the photo says, "Look what you made him do." JoJo sends another message accusing Dom of making Mr. Davidson come because he was excited to see her. And now she has to keep him on a short leash, hence the rope around his cock. Dom is thinking, what the fuck did she sign up for? With all of the emotions going on in her head, it took Dom a minute to realize that JoJo is still with Mr. Davidson and he's on the phone with Cheyenne. Dom doesn't know what to do or what to think. JoJo's next question enforces Dom's thoughts as she asks Dom what she is going to tell Cheyenne. Dom doesn't immediately respond as she sits and thinks about what to say and do next. Dom can hear bits and pieces of Cheyenne's conversation with her dad. She heard her ask him if everything was okay because he sounded weird. Dom receives another picture message. This time, the image is shot from in between his legs, facing up his body. As Dom examines the picture, she sees Mr. Davidson's hairy balls being suffocated as they sit beneath a rock-hard dick sticking straight up. Through the pubic hairs and the roundness of an out-of-shape belly, Dom can see a portion of Mr. Davidson's face. Dom, focusing on the angle of the shot, becomes impressed at the artistry and the lens filters JoJo used. Dom quickly remembers award-winning Dan Hoff is her friend, so her visual quality should be top tier. JoJo sends another message following the photo saying how he hasn't gone down one bit since he's been on the phone with his daughter. JoJo informs Dom Mr. Davidson has to stay on the phone until Dom decides what she is going to tell Cheyenne. Dom is flabbergasted as JoJo is asking questions that she doesn't have an immediate answer to. She has no idea what Cheyenne saw on the tablet. Dom assumes she didn't see what she saw on the tablet when she left her room because she hears Cheyenne asking if her mom was in the kitchen cooking. She wants some ideas for dinner. So Dom suspects Cheyenne knows nothing about her dad. JoJo sends a video chat request. Dom answers in a whisper, instantly telling JoJo she's fucking crazy. She sees JoJo smiling with her face inches away from Mr. Davidson's dick holding the small rope connected to it. Her face is resting on her right arm, which is stretched across Mr. Davidson's pelvic area. JoJo's left hand is holding her phone. Dom calls JoJo a psychopathic bitch. JoJo laughs and asks Dom, what would be the difference if she didn't know Harold? Dom clenches her teeth and her whisper gets louder. She tells Jojo Mr. Davidson is like a father to her, and she is wrong for putting her in a predicament. Jojo scoffs and reminds Dom she didn't get the name Shady Joe because she likes palm trees, sells umbrellas or snow cones. Jojo pulls the rope and Dom sees Mr. Davidson mildly thrust his hip and hears him grunt. Cheyenne's voice travels through the apartment as she asks her dad if he's okay. Dom listens as Mr. Davidson replies he is fine, he just stubbed his toe on the coffee table. Dom realizes her outfit doesn't hide moisture well as sweat spots form under her arms. She frustratingly asks Jojo what she wants her to do. Jojo releases some tension on the rope and assures Dom that's all she wants from her is to ask her guidance. Jojo tells Dom to make up a story about the both of them working together on her blog to uncover how dark the entertainment industry is. Jojo continues to add more context to their story. She tells Dom to say the information on the tablet is evidence, and they're real close to figuring out who is responsible. Dom butts in and says she can say the outfit was a joke because they're like crime fighters. Jojo nods her head and says that works while doing a quick yank on the rope, still connected to Mr. Davidson's dick. He says ooh as Dom looks at the screen and sees Mr. Davidson's dick pulsating. Cheyenne is heard again from the kitchen questioning her father's comfort. Dom hears him lie about his toe being sore. Jojo instructs Dom to invite Cheyenne to the event at the Citadel Spa and retreat on Saturday. Dom looks at Jojo and agrees, then proceeds to tell Jojo she's still a psychopath. Jojo leans in closer to Mr. Davidson's dick and smiles while releasing the rope's tension. Dom jumps and gasps as she is startled by the cum shooting out of Mr. Davidson's dick. Dom counts at least 4 spurts of semen flying out of his tip with a decent amount landing on Jojo's forehead and nose leaving a string of goo landing on her lips. Cheyenne saying she loves her dad sounds deafening alongside Mr. Davidson's deep grunt, expressing love back roaring through the phone's speaker. Dom has a blank stare as she looks at Jojo wiping her mouth, nose, and forehead with her right hand and takes the same hand, wiping it onto Mr. Davidson's belly. Jojo licks her top lip where the string of goo was located and tells Dom she just made $25,000. Dom's eyes get big as she looks up and sees Cheyenne coming out of the kitchen. She quickly ends her call with Jojo. Dom places her DPN device on the table and takes off her boots, asking Cheyenne how her dad is, and Cheyenne responds saying he's fine, but he stubbed his toe and sounded like he was under duress. Cheyenne expresses her disinterest in talking about her dad as she questions Dom about the contents of the tablet. Cheyenne sits down on her side of the couch as she listens to Dom confess to the story of her blog and uncovering the entertainment industry's dark side. Dom is going into elaborate detail as she faces Cheyenne while sitting on her right leg. Dom invites Cheyenne to the party just as Jojo asked. Cheyenne says she thinks her child's father has a home game Saturday, and she will ask her mother tomorrow if she can watch their son until he comes home. Cheyenne informs Dom she is hungry and asks if she wants to order food. Dom agrees she has worked up an appetite. Cheyenne admits to Dom that she was disgustingly turned on by the few videos she had seen. Dom asks the meaning of disgustingly turned on. Cheyenne tells Dom she assumed she watched the videos also. Dom shook her head no in response to Cheyenne's assumption, and asks Cheyenne why she assumed she had. Cheyenne looks down at Dom's crotch. Dom's eyes follow Cheyenne's. Cheyenne asks Dom for an explanation as to why there is a wet spot between her legs.
On the next episode of Bella Vita, Trevor is gathering his belongings from the bathroom in an attempt to get dressed and finish out his workday. He's interrupted by unexpected visitors who aren't pleased with the work he had just completed. Their line of questioning leaves him stuck and unable to evade. Feeling accomplished and satisfied, Rose believes life is going in her favor when sudden changes place her and a stranger in a peculiar situation. A devastating secret gets revealed due to a costly mistake which has the power to bring down an entire empire and more.